Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing today? I said I'd be on at 6 today, 6 p.m. Central Time, because of course I am in Dallas. So, Texas. Thank you, Old Navy, for making cool t shirts and sweatshirts that are comfortable. uh, so, yeah, today I decided to, I was going to do it yesterday, but sometimes Fridays are a little nuts around here. Sometimes our weeks are long in terms of all the extra work that we have to do for our boys, especially we're doing some ABA therapy right now, and I'm kind of getting my feet. Um, yeah, it's just getting, it takes some time to get used to the how to plan, to train the kids, and do all that fun stuff. So, anyway, so I decided to do it today. So, if you are joining me, please go ahead, tell us where you're at and your name and what are you doing. And so, yeah, so today's video is about letting go, specifically um, about the forgiveness. Nobody likes to speak about forgiveness, but, and that's why I didn't put on the description because I'm sure people be like, no, I don't want to do that. But really, it's about letting go. You get to a point in life where you realize that your peace and your joy is much more important than the discomfort that we live in when we decide to hold ourselves to be, to stay attached to our righteousness or I need to be right about whatever situation or person. And so today I got a card after my meditation that it was about Saint Francis of Assisi and your connection with animals. And it's a beautiful card. It talks about beautiful symbolisms with St. Francis. But one of the things that always pops in my mind is let me be an instrument of your peace. And what better way to be an instrument of peace than being peaceful yourself? So, forgiveness was one that I struggled with for a while. I didn't get it. Growing up Catholic, for me, it was always like, this is hello, hi, Jamie. Um, Growing up Catholic, forgiveness is a thing that is very much expected of you, or at least that's how I understood it. That's what I love about growing in my spirituality. I'm not necessarily religious, but I now understand everybody's religion and their belief systems and why it's important for them to believe what they believe. Hi, Carrie. I love you. Um, Yvonne. Oh, yay. Everybody's joining. Qué rico. Hola, Yvonne. Um, so, forgiveness at one point felt like a chore. It felt disingenuous and it felt like I had to do it in order to be a good person. So immediately I didn't want to forgive. Plus, depending on the person that I felt very judgmental towards, in my mind, they were wrong. And therefore, they didn't deserve my forgiveness. They did something that, in my mind, was um, good, Jamie. I'm really glad. In my mind, they did something that was unforgivable and therefore I held them hostage to it and I held them accountable in my mind. But what happened was is that every time I thought of that person, I would lose my own peace. It's funny how I start talking about peace and people start showing up in my office, even though it says quiet, please. I had so the interesting thing about forgiveness. I don't know. Go find Papa somewhere else. Remember, I have a sign, my love.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Can you go out there? Let me finish my video, my love.
I yes, okay. Sorry, Aguil.
It's okay. Go. Go.
Yes, okay, Aguil.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Papa was just be right back. Too. And
Okay, maybe we'll have to do it with him in the room. Speaking of forgiveness. No,
we'll
but
see in a little bit if
yes.
he comes right back.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, but you need to be quiet and you need to turn that off while I work, okay? So I might lose a few of you in this during while I do this. That's fine. So back to the forgiveness thing. Held myself hostage. Exactly. Um, so the thing about forgiveness having to be a chore, it really took away the purpose of it, and instead. It makes you even feel more toxic towards yourself and towards the other person. So anytime you think of the person, anytime just a picture of the person will pop up, something, your peace is gone. All of a sudden, you just feel like you can't. Yes, like the four agreements, absolutely, Carrie. I will tell hi to Will in just a little bit. I got to learn how to do this whole live thing so I can talk and then answer questions. But I do love the comments. This is fun. So what happened was that my piece was so much more important. It got to the point where every time I received phone calls that would trigger me, that I would immediately go down the path of that moment in time where that person had wronged me in such a way that they had nothing else to say to me, and I didn't really want to talk to them anymore. It was uncomfortable for me. Then I started noticing that the only person experiencing that this heavel, this discomfort, this annoyance, this anger was me. That person had no idea what was happening in my mind. And I had to figure out a way to let it go. And so, really, it's about forgiveness, but you don't have to just up and, okay, I forgive you, it's all done. It has to be done in a way where you can take little bites into it and make it real in your life, because once you get to the point of such freedom that they really truly no longer trigger you when you see a picture of them, when you hear their name in passing, or whether you know that they're going to be at some party that you're going to be at or something of that nature, um, you know in your heart of hearts that that person or that situation no longer has you hostage. So, how do you do that? So, for example, I remember being very upset and angry at my mom because I had to help her divorce 3 times. And I always felt like I was the one that had to pick up the pieces. When the first one happened, I was 6. The second one, I was 25. And this last one was when I was 38 or something like that. And I was annoyed. I was definitely annoyed. Like, why do I have? And in all honesty, did I really have to do anything? No, I didn't. But I chose to because I felt like it was my responsibility. But the discomfort was such, having to deal with all of the court stuff, all the paperwork, the being in boardrooms where I was the only woman Latina and the youngest by far, and an environment that was that had specific, because I was discussing mom's wills and the divorce itself and all these others, and I was her representative, and I had no clue what I was doing. I felt so like a fish out of water, but I knew I had to do this, and I was already in that process of forgiveness, right? So that's why I was able to show up for those meetings and the court and all these other things that needed to happen for mom. The cool thing is that because of the practice of being aware, so one of the things that I tell people when I work with them is just watch yourself, watch your body. Where is your heart in this? Can you feel your heart speed up? Why? Can you take a moment, breathe in, and really look at the situation? Because the situation just is something's just happening. There is an event, but we are putting meaning to the event. So, what is happening in your mind that's bringing you back to the space of complete being caged and not being yourself and not being truthful? All you're doing is being angry and just stuck in this past story and not being in the present, seeing what needs to be done right now because you're still angry about something. That's when you can start paying attention and be like, okay, well, I can breathe right now. My heart's racing. I'm upset because I'm thinking of that time where, um, in somehow I promised I would take care of my mom, and if I don't, then I have failed. And if I have failed taking care of my mom, then what kind of daughter am I? And then what kind of parent am I? And I'm a failure. And all of a sudden, you see that the bottom belief of all this stuff is just you are afraid that you're a failure or you feel like you're one. And what I do when I work with someone is I tell them, take a deep breath, and are you ready to let that go? Because really it's your choice to let that go, but you have to be aware of that. And then there's some other things that we would talk about at that moment to release that, to finally let it be. And yes, it'll come back from time to time, but now that you're so aware that it was the fear of failure, the fear of being worthless, because it's unbelievable how much that program lives in all of us. So that's why we attack. We always go out and tell people, no, you're wrong, because the worst thing would be for me to realize that I feel like I am not worthy or I am a failure. And really recognize that within myself and be okay with, I realize that I have this, being okay with, I no longer want to feel this way. I want to feel whole again. So you forgive that person, not for them, but for you. It's for your own peace. When I figured out that that's what forgiveness was about, that it wasn't because good people forgive and that's what you do, all of a sudden it becomes a very freeing experience. Um, and the more you, again, walk the talk, the more you get triggered. Immediately, it's funny, all the time, every time I get upset, I know it's mine. It's never anybody, and if it is someone else's, I'll ask. This might be a little woo for some of you, but we're all little antennas of energy, and sometimes it's not yours. Sometimes you're picking up on somebody else's anger, and that's when you go return to center with consciousness. But then if it is yours, it's yours, then you can do something about it. You don't have to stay in the anger. You can stay in the anger if you want to. Absolutely your choice. You can be angry, you can yell, you can do whatever it is to have your emotion. I'm not saying hide it, because I have had my bouts of crying and yelling and etc. But I know that once I have that anger, I know it will settle. I know it will come down. And I know all is well always. Just like we tell the boys, just emotions are very real and very strong. And this is what's happening for all of us right now. So this is why I'm giving this information out, because it's time that we all, before we start yelling at someone else, just take a moment and really see, why do you feel that that person should think XYZ? Why are they thinking that they're wrong? Um, why are you thinking that they're wrong and that you're right? Um, just pay attention. And if you want to stay in that mindset, stay in that mindset. I'm not saying you have to change your mind, because anger can be a wonderful catalyst for great change. But be aware of why you're angry and what you can do from a mindset of a much more peaceful heart versus one of trying to submit someone to do something that you want them to do. And this is why I always bring the boys to this whole thing. They were the ones who taught me, you really can't make anybody do anything you want them to do. All you can do is be your most wonderful human self, your most freed human self, so that you can be clear, honest. I always think of, what Jesus Christ's energy must have been like around a person that was so real, so themselves, so at peace with the knowing that we are true lights, that we're just these beautiful souls having this experience now. What that must have been like to be around that energy. And imagine if we all embodied that now. So that's why letting go, it really starts in many cases, not all the cases, but in a lot of cases, has to with forgiveness, forgiving yourself. Ooh, that's a fun one to go explore. Because there's so many times we're just, Nicole, you shouldn't have done this. Why'd you do that? Da 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 da. And so it's a tough one. But if you start forgiving the other, you can slowly come back and end up forgiving yourself and just be able to be much more chill. And everyone around you responds in kind. I keep saying it all the time. You want peace in the world right now? Just find your own. And you'll be surprised at how much you'll get back. So I was hoping to see if I can get any questions or anything like that. So if someone has a question, I'm going to answer a couple of these things. Thank you again. I love that you're here, Jamie. I love you. Carrie, I love that you're here too. And Carrie, yes, that book, The Four Agreements, if you've never read the book, I highly recommend it to everybody. It's a tiny little book. They have it in English and in Spanish. Yeah, I'm glad that you remember that I gave you that book in the Spanish version. So yes, check out the Four Agreements because another it's another set of um, ideals. I don't want to say it's a rule book, but it's definitely a wonderful guidebook. Just like the Bible, just like um, the Bhagavad Gita, which is the I can never say it right, um, but it's the Hindi version of sacred texts. Any sacred text that helps you live this life with grace is just a wonderful way to yeah, live through life. Any other questions? Let's see. Hola, Mari. Love you, Jessica. This is so cool, Yvonne. I love it. But looks like nobody else has any more questions. I'm going to give you guys one more second if anybody's typing furiously. If not, I'm going to put this one up on. Oh, here we go. How do you raise your vibration enough to start feeling peace? Ooh, that's a great question. Um, so Jamie and I understand when we're talking about vibration. Not everybody's going to get it, but I'm going to try my best. So you know that feeling, one of the best things I can do to help anybody start vibrating their own, there's a difference. You know when you feel low and you're upset and you're angry. That's what we call a low vibration. When you're feeling joy and love and peace, that's what we call a high vibration. So what you can do is sometimes you're just angry, and all you can do is just go to the next positive feeling. You don't want to go all the way up. Some people can. Some people can just done. I don't need, some tools that I have are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're just throwing all that anger towards Mother Earth to receive it. Some people just, there are other words that we use that just kind of like a little magic wand, whatever you want to use to kind of let the anger go away. But what I try to do is go to the next neutral. So if I'm angry, I try to go to neutral by taking a moment, looking around the situation. Why am I angry? Okay, so Will busted in the door just a little while ago. And of course, immediately I'm like, oh, here we go. I put the quiet sign up. But immediately I start laughing because, it's absurd. Every time I try to do anything, you kind of just let go because it always happens this way. Like as soon as, of course, someone's going to come in. So the expectations change. So I go to the neutral, and neutral really is, okay, so why am I angry? I'm being interrupted. That means that they don't really care about my space. So why am I here? See how bad you can go really low real quick. But as soon as you realize that that's absurd itself, of course I'm supposed to be here. Of course I love my life. It's just kind of like you take a moment to look at yourself in anger. And then you can just be neutral and be like, oh yeah, of course, I'm still human. I'm still going to have those. And then I jump back in here and I just think of all the joyful things that I'm doing right now. So that's how I, in a very practical way, raise my vibration. I also have beautiful memories. So any beautiful memory that you have, I just always bring those in. I like to reminisce. I'm a romantic at heart. So that always helps to bring it back. Or I think of wonderful stories. People, like I said, you think of Jesus Christ, and immediately you're like, yeah, that dude was like the coolest dude you could ever imagine. The most laid back, compassionate, come as you are type energy. So it's just you visualize it in your mind and you try to know what the feelings would be like. You evoke those feelings. I'm glad that it's a great suggestion. And you bring those feelings in and you just immediately start changing. Another really cool one that one of my brother-in-law gave me was just hold your smile for 15 seconds. And at the end of 15 seconds, you will be smiling for real. And I thought it was the cutest thing, but it works. So I'm like, all right, just hold it. Even though you're mad, you're like, "Argh." And then just hold it for 15 seconds and boom, you're smiling. So that's a fun one. Um, Carrie, I'm so glad that the book has been helping you to be kinder to yourself. That's huge. Um, it's a beautiful comment nonetheless. It's all about being kind to ourselves in this whole thing. Yes, the more that's again forgiveness. If you forgive yourself for whatever you perceive to have done wrong, because what's funny is you probably thought you did something wrong, and the person around you was just like, she's fine, she didn't do anything wrong. But you're beating yourself up. Therefore, forgiving yourself is probably the hardest thing, because we're the hardest ones on our own selves. So okay, well, I don't want to make this too long, so I'm gonna stop it right here. But I just wanted to say I love y'all. Sending everyone lots of love, light, and blessings. Know that you are fine, that all is well always, like we always tell Will. Um, find your peace. Help the world change now by just being you in your most peaceful, loving way. All right, guys, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you next week. God bless.